During a famous psychological study at UC Berkeley, researchers rigged a classic game of Monopoly. They gave one random player twice as much starting money, double the salary when passing go, and the right to roll 2 dice instead of 1. The wealthy players didn't just quietly win. They started smacking their pieces loudly against the board, eating more food from shared bowls, and boasting about their brilliant strategic genius. This experiment, conducted by social psychologist Paul Piff, exposed a dark, hidden truth about how our minds handle abundance. It reveals a biological trap that quietly rewrites your brain chemistry the moment you start accumulating wealth, turning regular human beings into something unrecognizable. By the end of this video, you will understand the exact neurological mechanism that turns successful people into isolated cynics, and the exact steps you must take to protect yourself from it. Most people believe they would stay completely humble if they ever struck it rich, but science proves your biology has vastly different plans for your personality. What is worse, the final trap we will discuss today is the exact reason why 90% of wealthy families lose every single penny by the 3rd generation. But to truly understand how money hijacks your mind, we first have to look at what happens inside the brain of someone chasing a dollar. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Tian Dayton, acquiring money can easily become what is referred to as a process addiction. This is a compulsive urge to repeatedly engage in a specific behavior, such as chasing deals or hoarding cash, regardless of any negative social or personal consequences. What is deeply unsettling about process addictions is that your brain chemistry changes in much the same way as it would with alcohol or drug abuse. It floods your neural pathways with dopamine, turning the pursuit of wealth into a powerful chemical high. But this chemical high comes with a hidden cognitive tax that quietly alters how you perceive every other human being around you. A groundbreaking study published in the journal Psychological Science revealed a strange, chilling deficit in wealthy individuals. Researchers found that people belonging to lower socioeconomic classes are significantly better at reading facial expressions than people with lots of money. Because accurately reading facial expressions and attempting to understand how another person is feeling is a key part of empathy, this means wealth literally blinds you. When you no longer need others to survive, your brain decides that decoding their emotions is a complete waste of cognitive energy. But this lack of perception is only the very beginning of a much deeper and more isolating behavioral shift. Research conducted by psychologists Paul Piff and Dr. Keltner at the University of California at Berkeley spent years tracking the day-to-day behavior of the affluent. They discovered that as people accumulate wealth and power, their levels of compassion and empathy actively plummet. In one telling field experiment, they watched a busy city crosswalk to see which drivers would stop for pedestrians. Drivers of cheap, basic cars respected the law 100% of the time, while drivers of luxury vehicles cut off pedestrians 3 times more often. The expensive cars did not make them bad people, but the wealth created a sudden, invisible sense of immunity. Now, here's the part of the scientific research that absolutely broke my brain when I first read it. You might assume that people who inherit their millions are the most entitled, but the actual data shows the exact opposite pattern. Paul Piff's research revealed that people who earn their wealth from scratch are often far less sympathetic and empathetic than those born into privilege. Self-made millionaires tell themselves a very specific, deeply convincing story about their success. They believe they survived a brutal economic meritocracy entirely on their own merit, which leads to a dangerous, cold conclusion about everyone else who is still struggling. This self-made narrative breeds a psychological state called the deservingness story. Because you worked 80 hours a week and sacrificed everything to escape poverty, your brain convinces you that anyone still struggling simply is not trying hard enough. You begin to view complex structural inequalities as mere personal failures. This belief system completely shuts down your capacity for sympathy, replacing it with cold, calculated judgment. But this psychological wall does not just push strangers away. It eventually creates a profound, quiet panic inside your own household, destroying your relationships from the inside out. As empathy fades, a deep, heavy sense of isolation quietly creeps into your life. Wealth allows you to buy independence. You no longer need to borrow a neighbor's lawnmower, ask for a ride to the airport, or rely on family for childcare. But human beings evolved to survive through mutual reliance and close-knit community. By purchasing total independence, wealthy individuals inadvertently buy themselves out of the very social structures that keep humans happy and sane. This leads to a quiet crisis of deep loneliness, which affluent families often try to solve in the worst way possible. To shield their children from the coldness of the world, wealthy parents often try to buy their happiness and security. But according to financial industry research, 70% of affluent families lose their entire fortune by the second generation. By the third generation, a staggering 90% of that wealth is completely gone. Because the children never learn the struggle of building something, they inherit the entitlement without any of the work ethic. The family's money becomes a psychological poison rather than a resource, leading to a vicious, painful cycle of generational decline. But here is the secret twist that most wealth advisors and financial planners will never tell you. The decay of your empathy and the loss of family wealth are not inevitable destiny. It all comes down to how your brain processes the concept of enough and how you view your resources. When you view wealth as a shield to protect you from humanity, it ruins your mind and isolates your family. But when you view wealth as a tool to connect you to humanity, your brain chemistry reacts in a completely different, healthy way. To bypass this biological trap, you must consciously practice what psychologists call deliberate vulnerability. This means actively putting yourself in situations where your wealth cannot buy your way out of raw human connection. It involves getting rising generations involved in early education, active hands-on philanthropy, and community service. You must force your brain to look at real faces, read difficult emotions, and understand struggles that are completely different from your own. This intentional social friction keeps your neural pathways for empathy active, healthy, and functional. Building wealth without losing your humanity requires a strict psychological blueprint. First, never let your spending isolate you. Use your resources to build community, not higher walls around your estate. Second, keep a physical journal of your luck and the people who help you along the way to combat the self-made delusion. By acknowledging the heavy role of chance and luck, you keep your ego in check and your empathy alive. If you can master this balance, you won't just build a massive bank account. You will build a legacy that actually lasts. The real wealth paradox is that money can buy comfort, but cannot buy the deep social connections that keep us alive. If you want to build true generational abundance, you must start by protecting your mind from the poison of entitlement. It is a daily battle against your own biology, but it is one you can absolutely win. Subscribe to stay updated on the raw psychology behind success and human behavior.